Hey, it's MVS here. Look, I don't know why frogs play such a big role in wisdom, but apparently they do. So I've got 4 frogs for you. 3, I think you should embrace. 1, I think you should avoid. Here's the first frog that I think you should embrace. And the inside is this: kiss the frog. You've heard of the fairy tale, I'm sure, which says, look, when you kiss the frog, the handsome prince arrives and rescues you from your life of drudgery. Now, I'm pretty sure that many of us aren't looking for the handsome prince. We don't need to be rescued from our lives. But what I do know is that when you kiss frogs, occasionally you do meet really interesting people. When I first arrived in Toronto some 20 years ago, I spent a lot of time going to coffees and dinners and having meetings. And it is absolutely true that there was a bunch of those where I was like, you know what? I don't think we ever need to meet again. I think our work here is done. You're perfectly pleasant. I'm perfectly pleasant, but there's not a whole lot of chemistry. I kissed a frog, and I still got a frog. But there were a number of people who I met and hung out with, who I metaphorically kissed a frog, and they went, and they turned into somebody interesting, somebody I wanted to meet and get to know and to work with and learn to be friends with. So keep kissing the frogs. Keep showing up for opportunities. And just because the frog is a frog and it's not a prince doesn't mean that that's not the right thing to be doing, because it doesn't take many frog to prince transformations to actually change who you are and what your life is. Here's the second frog that I think you should embrace: swallow the frog. I know it's kind of a bit graphic, isn't it? But I think there's a saying that says, look, if you have to eat a frog, eat it in the morning. I don't know exactly why you're eating a frog. I'm guessing that everyone's like, don't eat, who wants to eat a raw frog? Nobody. But if you have to do the difficult thing, do it when you've got capacity and energy and courage and resilience, and you don't have to spend the whole day thinking about it and making the anticipation of it, which is often worse than the actual deed. And actually, I read something the other day that said, look, figure out what your boss's frog is and eat your boss's frog. Because if you want to succeed in your career, taking the thing that the boss doesn't want to do off her plate and sorting that out for her is one sure way of succeeding. So, kiss a frog, swallow a frog. Here's the third thing: lick the toad. I had dinner with a guy the other day who started a story saying, look, when I licked the toad, changed my business completely. And I love that. Apparently it was his first hallucinogenic experience. I don't know how they got the toad. I do know that there are toads that are both poisonous and hallucinogenic. There's one in Australia called the cane toad, which is causing devastation amongst Australian wildlife. But apparently if you boil it down, it creates a substance that you can imbibe if you want. I'm not saying you need to literally get stoned or literally lick a toad. I am saying that if you can find ways of shifting your reality, that is powerful. Find ways to become uncomfortable. Find ways to enter new worlds. Watch movies, read books, hang out with people that you don't know or you don't normally meet. We get so comfortable so quickly. And the idea of shifting the gates of reality, seeing the world in a different way, really is a powerful act. So those are the 3 interesting frogs: kiss a frog, swallow a frog, lick a toad. By the way, all toads are frogs, although not all frogs are toads, in case you're wondering. At least one frog not to embrace. I'm sure you've heard, if you know one story about frogs, it's, you put the frog in throw a frog in a boiling water and it will jump out. Put it into warm water and slowly heat it up to boiling heat, it will boil to death. Another graphic frog story. Of course, it turns out it's totally wrong. If you put a frog in boiling water, you basically kill it. It doesn't matter how fast it tries to jump out, it's dead. And if you put it into warm water and then try and just turn up the heat, it will jump out. Frogs aren't that stupid. But actually, it works better for humans than it does for frogs, which is we so quickly get comfortable with what actually isn't acceptable. Because incrementally, bit by bit by bit by bit, the thing that's unacceptable kind of finds a grip, slowly makes its way into your life, whatever that is for you. And before long, you're saying okay to something that really you wouldn't be saying okay to if you were starting afresh. So it's really worthwhile for you to stop and start saying to yourself, what's become unacceptable? What have I allowed to slowly put its tendrils in, may get ground onto my life, that really, when I stop and I think about it and I see it with clear eyes, I would go, that is not something that I'm willing to tolerate any longer. And I think this might be the most powerful frog of all, which is to keep stepping back, looking at what's going on and saying, this needs to change. So 3 frogs. Kiss the frog, swallow the frog, lick the toad, but don't get boiled as a frog. Hey, if you've got a question you'd like me to consider and perhaps answer, you can just drop it into the comments below.